Heated Rivalry Episode 6, the season finale. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe we made it here already. This series flew by, and I am going to miss it so much. It was such a special and heartwarming and beautiful experience watching the internet unite and come together and celebrate the slow burn love between our boys Shane and Ilya. And we can't forget the wholesome, sweet insula between Scott and Kip, aka Skip. This show has been so special. It has broke through all the demographic boundaries. All the different countries came together, different sexual orientations, gender identities, races, ages, generations. Everybody came together to celebrate love. And of course, the sizzling hot spicy scenes. We can't forget about that. But they reeled us in with the juicy cake shots, the hockey booty, and then they gave us what we needed with all the feels and the love, and of course the roller coaster and the angst. This was such a special series, and the fandom in the community has been amazing. This has been the best fandom I have ever been a part of, and it has been such an honor. I am really gonna miss the weekly HBO drops. Oh my gosh, it was such a ritual. It was really the highlight of my week, and doing these debriefs every week. uh I have to admit I am sad to let it go, but I am grateful that we at least got to have the experience right when we needed it. This was the healing balm the world needed, and it came at exactly the right time. But I am curious, what are your post heated rivalry plans? What are you going to do to ease your Hollanov hangover and withdraw? Are you going to read the books? I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to dive into the books. But are you going to read the books? Are you going to rewatch the series? Are you going to make fan edits? Are you going to rewatch Connor and Hudson interviews? What are your post heated rivalry plans? Let me know in the comments. I'm dying to know. After this wild, intense, and crazy ride, episode 6 was the perfect soft landing space to end it with. Let's get into it. We opened the episode with Scott Hunter winning the MVP award and giving his acceptance speech after his very public coming out on the ice. And it sounds like from what he said in his speech that his coming out was received positively, and he really changed the game for a younger generation. So I was really happy to see that. And he gives a very public and loving shout out to his man, to his boy Kip. And fun fact, the show didn't have a budget to have a bunch of extras to film a crowd scene. So they just had Kip watching from the bar instead of in the audience where he should have been. But I want to say I have mad respect for this show. They were able to do a lot with very little. They had a teeny tiny budget, but they still managed to make one of the best shows in TV history, and that should be applauded. I cannot sing Jacob Tierney's praises enough, and the whole cast and the whole crew. I've said it over and over this series, but I can't say it enough. And he did it on such a small budget. But they filmed the scene with Scott giving love to Kip and Kip's friends surrounding him and celebrating that his love is finally out in the open. After we see that our boys Scott and Kip are doing well, we dive into the action with Shane and Ilya. Shane is at the airport picking up Ilya, and they're both incognito in their sunglasses. Ilya hops in the car, and it's obvious they're both nervous. They don't want to be seen. They haven't seen each other in a while, so nerves are high, but there's a lot of obvious warmth between them. And Shane is saying, we don't have to worry. Nobody can see us. The cottage is very private. Even my parents won't be around. I told them I would be on a silent meditation retreat. And Shane's like, does that sound fake? And Ilya's like, if it was anyone else but you, it would sound fake. But, that sounds like you. And they laugh and hold hands. And it's obvious how much they know each other and how much just genuine love and camaraderie is between them. And they get to the cottage, and it is a stunning place. These boys have really great taste in real estate, and Ilya is always teasing Shane for his real estate savvy, but they really are. They have some good interior designers and architects and all of that. But I thought it was really sweet that Shane stocked his fridge with Coke, Ilya's favorite drink, just how back in the tuna melt episode, Ilya stocks his fridge with ginger ale, his Shane's favorite drink. But they pay attention to the details and they really know each other and they take care of each other. And I really love to see that. I love these two boys together. Well, it comes out really early on that neither one of them has been with anybody else for a long time. And they're both relieved to hear that, especially Shane. I think breathes like a really big sigh of relief when you realize that Ilya hasn't been with anyone else. But they have playful banter. They do a little hotel role play, and it's really cute. And they kick off their romantic getaway at the cottage together. Shane says that during their time together, he really hopes they can just be really open and honest about their feelings. And Ilya says he'll try. And it has been such a character arc, such a journey watching Ilya learn to open up and be vulnerable. It was really hard one. It was a really slow burn getting Ilya to learn to drop his walls and open up. But now he's finally in a safe place away from the public, away from Russia, and now he can finally be who he is and open up to Shane. And it sounds like he is going to try his best and like he's ready for it. So when Ilya said I'll try, I got really excited. I'm like, oh, they're finally going to talk and come together. And let me say, the episode did not disappoint. They have a really cute moment where Shane's making burgers on the grill and there's so many burgers. And Ilya's like, why are you making so many burgers? There's like so many. And Shane's like, the recipe was for 8. And Ilya's like, why didn't you cut it in half? And it is so relatable. Even though Ilya is a man who has my heart, I relate to Shane more as a fellow neurodivergent. And it can be hard to modify recipes, but I never felt so seen by Shane in that moment. But it was really cute between them and how Ilya gave him a little shit for it. It was adorable. But they sit down to eat their burgers and they start to open up about their family. And Ilya starts asking Shane questions about his parents. And he's like, you get your looks from your mom and you're boring from your dad. And Shane's like, my dad is awesome. My dad went to McGill. And Ilya's like, what the hell is McGill? And Shane's like, it's a really good school. And I'm like, Ilya, you better put some respect on McGill's name. My first Canadian love ever, Justin Trudeau, went to McGill. So even though I'm American and have never been to Canada besides Niagara Falls, I have love for McGill. Because like I said, my first Canadian heartthrob, Justin, went to McGill. But Ilya is like, whatever. But it's a really cute exchange. And this episode is so very Canadian. Not only was it the McGill name drop, there's just like a lot of Canadian references that I really appreciate as a fangirl for Canada. So while they're eating and talking about family, Ilya is like, have you told your parents yet? Have you told your parents that you're gay? And Shane's like, no, I probably would have told them if I wasn't dating my rival. But because I'm dating you, I can't tell them yet, or I haven't been able to tell them yet. And Ilya's like, you can tell your parents you're gay without listing out a list of dudes you're banging. And it's such a good point. And Ilya's comedic timing, even when he's making a serious point, is so good. But I'm like, good point, Ilya. Touche. But yeah, they're slowly starting to bond and talk about family stuff and getting to know each other's roots. And it's really beautiful to see. I love how much humor and warmth and simplicity there is in this episode. There aren't any crazy time jumps or any crazy edits. We're all just in one setting with two characters over the course of a series of days instead of months or years. And it's really calming and soothing. If the other episodes were dopamine and norepinephrine, this episode, well, I would say episode 5 was oxytocin. It was oxytocin all the way, all the feels, all the cuddles, all the love. The previous episodes were like dopamine and norepinephrine, that pleasure, that adrenaline. But this episode 6, was pure serotonin. It was like a long, warm hug that you didn't want to end. But I like the humor and the love in this episode. There's a scene where they're out by the fire and these loons, these birds start making noise. and our big tough boy, Russian boy Ilya gets scared. And I so feel him in that moment. Like, nature freaks me out sometimes. I would have been right with him, like, what the hell is up with these wolf birds? But they have a little cute exchange, and Shane kind of teases him a little bit and does bird calls. And Ilya's like, "You speak bird now?" And it's so cute, and they watch the fire together, and it's such a Canadian moment. This scene reminded me of some fanfics from a different fandom that took place in Canada that I used to read, so I felt really warm and homey and out in the woods with them. There's something about the way this show is shot and directed that makes me feel like I'm in the scene with them instead of watching from a distance. But I felt like I was out in nature in Canada with them, just with our boys bonding, and it was so beautiful. During one of the quiet evenings out by the fire, Ilya really opens up about his mom and her tragic death. And there's a really heartbreaking part where he describes his mom. He says she was smart and beautiful and funny and sad, and that his dad was really hard on her. And in a way, he's describing himself because he's smart and beautiful and funny, and his dad was really hard on him. But he finally stops pushing away Shane's questions and really opens up about some of the most painful and tender parts of his family. And Shane like holds him both physically and energetically and is really there for him as he opens up. And it is so tender and beautiful to watch. And in addition to these tender, soft moments, they also have playful moments, just boys being boys. They play sports video games together, and Ilya kind of brags that he's on the cover of a video game. And I love that flex. Like, I'd be flexing too if I was on the cover of the video game. And then Hayden calls, and Ilya gets super naughty and goes down on Shane while he's on the phone with his best friend Hayden, trying to have a family friendly conversation about Hayden's 30 damn kids. And Ilya is really distracting Shane. And apparently, this scene was improvised by Connor and Hudson. The way Connor is like kind of roughhousing Shane and slapping him around while he's going down on him, that was all improvised. And apparently, the whole crew was behind the cameras laughing. And it's just been so beautiful how magic the chemistry is between Connor and Hudson, that it just jumps off the screen and they can just improvise and they can bring the heat and the humor and the playfulness and just make magic on the camera. And I feel so lucky to have been able to witness it and watch it through this whole season, and especially in this episode. After Shane gets off the phone with Hayden, he's like, "Oh my gosh, why was that so hot?" And Ilya's like, "Because you like to be bad. That's why it was hot." And Shane's like, "No, that's not it." He's like, "That's not what this is about. And it hasn't been for a long time." And I'm glad that he established that. Like, at first, the appeal was, "Oh, we're in secret. This is on the low." The forbidden aspect made it extra spicy. But he's like, "We're beyond that now. It hasn't been about that for a long time. Like, what we have, this is real. This isn't like secret rendezvous or whatever." So I really like that that was established, that it's more than the thrill now. Something real is really happening between them. Later, we get this scene that is so well acted by Hudson. It's the scene where they're out at night by the fire again, and they are foot to foot, toe to toe, and they're having a conversation about their future. And Ilya kind of tosses out he can marry Svetlana to get a passport. And Shane is obviously like very stressed about this and jealous and hurt, and he's tearing up. He's so tense and he's trying to hold tears back, and I can feel his pain. This is so well performed. And Shane starts trying to ask Ilya questions about the women in his life. And Ilya's like, "I'm constantly surrounded by sexy, beautiful women, and they're so fun." And Shane's like, "Oh, that must be rough," like really sarcastic. And Ilya's like, "But I have a big problem. No matter how many women I'm surrounded with, I can't stop thinking about this slow hockey player with beautiful freckles and a terrible backhand." And that gets a smile out of Shane. And Shane's like, "Do you want this problem to go away?" And Ilya's like, "I never ever want this problem to go away." And it is just so cute and so heartwarming to watch Shane go from like stressed and jealous to comforted and held is such a difference from back from the tuna melt scene when Ilya was talking about the different girls he was with, and Shane obviously got rattled and it stayed, like the disconnect stayed. But this time Shane got rattled, but Ilya was able to come in and make him feel secure in the relationship. And it was so lovely to see how they've grown together. Later that night, they are in bed, Ilya's asleep, and Shane is up thinking, plotting, planning, trying to figure out the future. And he wakes up Ilya and lays out the plan. And Ilya's barely awake. He's like, "It's late. What are you talking about? Too many words." And Shane is so relatable in this moment. He has like a 10-year plan for how they can start a charity together, and how Ilya can move to Canada, and how they can be together after they retire. And Shane is just so completely relatable. That would have been me up all night thinking, plotting, planning. And Ilya's like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." And he's ready to go back to bed, but it's so endearing how much Shane cares that he thought of this plan. And Ilya's like, "Is that what you want, to be together?" And Shane's like, "Yes." And they have a really tender moment where Ilya's walls finally break down completely 100%, and he cries and he says, "I love you" to Shane. And Shane's like, "Holy shit, like I don't think he expected it." And he's like, "I love you too." And they cry together and exchange their "I love yous" and kiss. And I just felt my heart melt during this scene. This is the warmest and gooeyest I felt this whole series. I think there's so many heartfelt and touching moments in this series, but I think the scene where they cry and say "I love you" had to be the sweetest, most gooeyest moment. And we earned that payoff. We went through so much with the club scene and the "we didn't even kiss" scene, and so much heartbreak in the Vegas bathroom scene. And we finally get the heartfelt, tearfelt "I love yous." And it was so worth the wait. It was such a beautiful payoff. And then the feels just keep coming. We have a sweet, tender love scene between them. The dynamics in their sex scenes have definitely changed. They are being more tender now. They're not in the shadows and in secret hotel rooms. They're well lit, surrounded by windows, and they're really looking into each other's eyes, just making love passionately, like an established couple. After 8 years of being in a situationship, they're finally like making actual love. And then they have a ultra tender moment when Shane suggests they start a charity and give them money to mental health causes and do it in honor of Ilya's mom, Irina. And Ilya's like, "She would have loved you just how I love you." And it's such a beautiful moment. It made me a little teary, but it was absolutely beautiful. And it was, I mean, I can't even, like, I'm I'm losing my words again, but it was just a really beautiful moment. It really got me. And then we have a playful scene on the lake. They're swimming in the lake. Ilya's begging for a kiss, and Shane's like, "No, you're cold. Get away from me." And they're being really cute. And there's a detail I didn't catch the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, I noticed it. Ilya's like, "Your phone has been ringing all morning," but I wasn't even paying attention to that. But they're walking back to the cottage, discussing dinner plans, and they're kissing and they're touching. And then we see the back of Shane's dad's head, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, he can see them." And Ilya notices first, and then Shane looks, and as soon as the dad sees see him, he like jets out of there and he peels out and he leaves. And Shane melts down. He like freaks out completely, but Ilya stays strong. Ilya is Shane's rock. Shane is like, "This is my worst nightmare. This is so scary." And Ilya's like, "This is scary, but you're brave. Like, you can do this. I'm with you every step of the way." And Shane's like, "I should go talk to them." And Ilya's like, "Do you want me to come with you?" And he's like, "Yes." And I love the solidarity between them and how Ilya is able to comfort Shane, and he doesn't run away from the scary moment. He just stays by his side. And they prepare to go. and Ilya's wearing his Boston shirt, his team shirt, and Shane's like, "That's not gonna help." And Ilya's like, "What? They don't know I play for Boston?" And Ilya's so funny, even in the most tense moments, he can always bring some levity to the situation while making a good point. I love Ilya so much. Ilya has my whole heart. So Shane and Ilya show up at Shane's parents' house, and they're kind of awkward and stiff and tense for a while. And Shane is like, pretty much like, "I have something to tell you." And the mom's like, "What's going on?" And Shane's like, "I'm gay. And this is Ilya Rozanoff. And you know that he's visiting, and and the mom's like, "What?" And Ilya's like, "Lovers, we're lovers." And Shane's like, "Ew, gross, don't say that." And it was just so funny and such a Shane moment. And it happens again later. The parents are trying to figure out when this relationship started, and Shane was like, "Rookie year," and Ilga's like, "No, actually it was the summer before rookie year." And the parents are like, "You've been in love since before rookie year?" And they're like, "No, no, 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 not in love." And they're like, "Well, what?" And it's like kind of this awkward pause, and the mom's like, "Oh, they were lovers." And Shane visibly cringes, and it's like, could we please stop saying lovers? And I just love how this is like a very intense and heartfelt scene, but there's this levity and humor at it, and I really appreciate it. And it's also so sweet how Shane and Ilya comfort each other by tapping their feet together under the table, just like they did in the press conference all those years earlier when Ilya got kind of stuck during the reporters' questioning, and they kind of rubbed their feet against each other under the table. They still have that same comforting dynamic all these years later, and it's so lovely to see. And there was a really touching, well performed scene between Yuna and Shane. They go outside, and Shane breaks down, and I have to say his neurodivergence was performed so well during all the scenes, from the moment the dad caught them to the very end. Like, the whole series, his neurodivergence was performed well, but in this episode, like, that really shined through in the performance, and I really appreciated it as a fellow neurodivergent. But Shane can't even look at his mom, and she's like, "Look at me," and he can't make eye contact. He can barely speak. And he's like, "I tried so hard, Mom. I tried so hard, but I just couldn't help it." And his mom's like, "I'm sorry I made it so hard for you to tell me. Please forgive me." And he's like, "I forgive you, Mom." And they hug and they say, "I love you." And she obviously accepts him, and it's so beautiful. There's been so many stories over the years of people getting disowned and cut off from their families, but it's nice to see like a happy ending with an accepting family. That was really lovely to see. And true to uniform, she goes straight into momager mode. And she's like, "We can contact Reebok and Rolex, and this is a great opportunity." And she starts trying to manage the sponsorships. And in the beginning, I didn't know if I liked that aspect of her personality, how she was kind of a Kris Jenner, but I respect it. She's always trying to secure that bag for her baby and get them coins, and I love to see that. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about Yoon's personality, and how she is like a stage mom, kind of a Kris Jenner type? I like that in her, but I know it's not for everybody, so I'm curious what you think. But she goes into planning mode, and Shane kind of breaks down and melts down and freaks out and goes nonverbal. And Ilya's comforting him. He's like, "You're okay, you're okay. Your family's here, your boyfriend's here." And Shane's like, "Boyfriend?" And Ilya's like, "Yeah, probably." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're official." After almost a decade of situationship, they finally put a label on it. They are boyfriends, and I am so happy to see it. And the episode starts to wrap up there. They leave, they make plans with the parents to have dinner later, and Shane and Ilya are like, "Text before you come." And Yuna's like, oh no, we'll just meet around 5. And they're like, no, text before you come. And the dad is like, oh, we'll text and make sure you check your phone. And I love that moment because I'm sure the dad doesn't want to walk in on them being lovers again. Like, that was so awkward. He doesn't want to do it again. But it's just such a warm and playful moment. And I wasn't watching the time. Most of the time, because I am neurodivergent and cannot pay attention to a lot of things very long, I'm usually checking the time to see how long an episode is left. But Heated Rivalry, I never check the time on any episodes, and this is no different. So I wasn't checking the time, so I didn't realize the episode was ending. And all of a sudden, they're in the car, they're driving off into the sunset, exchanging loving glances and sweet touches, and the credits roll. And I was not ready for the credits to roll. I was not ready to exit this warm hug that Jacob Tierney and Shane and Ilya wrapped us in. And I did something I usually don't do. I watched the whole entire credits, and I just watched them exchanging glances and riding off and touching each other and planning their future. And it was so beautiful. Like I said, this episode was a long, warm hug full of serotonin and some oxytocin too. And it was satisfying. I really liked this ending, but at the same time, it left me wanting more, and it left me very excited for season 2. I believe season 2 is coming out in early 2027. I want Jacob to take his time and make another masterpiece, but at the same time, I can't wait. But I'm hoping that it comes out earlier in 2027 rather than later. In the meanwhile, I think I'm going to read the Game Changers book, and I'm going to read Heated Rivalry, but I'm going to try my best not to read The Long Game until after season 2 comes out. And it's going to take so much discipline to hold off and not read it, but I really enjoy experiencing the show fresh with no background information. I love being surprised in the twists and turns, even though avoiding spoilers is like a full-time job and I wasn't always successful. I did sometimes run into spoilers, but I'm hoping I can avoid the Long Game spoilers, and I'm going to try to hold off and not read it, but I don't know if I'll be able to wait that long. But what are your plans? What are you doing in between seasons to get your Shane and Ilya fix, or to kind of wean off and to get through the withdrawal? Let me know in the comments. And oh my gosh, I'm going to miss this fandom so much. The show was so healing and so uplifting and just so captivating. It gave me some much needed hope for humanity. And I hope this show gave you everything you needed and more. I am going to miss doing these debriefs with you. But like I said, let me know your post Heated Rivalry plans in the comments. And until next time, like, share, and subscribe. And I'm wishing you all the best in 2026 and beyond. Until next time, bye.